Welcome to our deep dive, everybody. Today it's slip and falls, specifically proving negligence in a California court. Not as easy as it sounds. We'll look at the legal stuff, some real-world examples, and hopefully you'll learn something, just in case you ever find yourself sprawled out in aisle 3 of the supermarket.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people think, oh, I fell, I get a payday, but negligence is way more complicated than that.
So break it down for us. Negligence. What's it actually mean when you're talking slip and falls?
Think of it this way. You're at the store, right? Tripping on a loose tile isn't enough. In California, you gotta prove the owner dropped the ball and keeping you safe.
So it's not just about getting hurt. It's about proving someone else screwed up. What does the law actually require?
The source material lays out 4 main things. You need all of them to win.
Okay, like the 4 legs of a table. Gotta have them all to stand up.
Exactly. First leg, a dangerous condition. Sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how often that's disputed.
So wet floor, broken step, bad lighting, those kind of things.
Exactly. But just proving that's not enough. You gotta show the owner knew, or reasonably should known about it. And that's where it gets tricky.
Ooh, I knew a legal curveball was coming. What makes it so tricky?
There's actual knowledge versus constructive knowledge. Actual, simple. Employee spills olive oil, sees it, doesn't clean it. You slip, boom, case closed. They knew.
Gotcha. But I'm guessing constructive is the head scratcher.
Right. It's proving that even if they didn't know at that moment, they should have if they were doing their job right.
So proving negligence through, like, a pattern. Got an example of how that works with a slip and fall.
Imagine the store's got a leaky roof. Rains, puddle forms, same spot every time. Even if nobody reported it that day, they should have known, right?
Yeah.
Taken steps to prevent it. That's constructive knowledge.
So not just one incident. It's like a history of neglect causing the danger. Okay, so we've got the dangerous thing, and the owner knew, or should have. What are the last 2 legs of our table?
Number 3, proving they didn't fix it reasonably. Did they put up a sign, mop it up, even if it was a half-assed job? The point is their effort or lack of it was unreasonable.
So even if they tried to fix it, you can still argue they didn't do enough.
Exactly. It's all about reasonable. Little spill, wet floor sign might be enough. Big puddle from that leaky roof, probably not. Their response didn't match the risk.
Makes sense. Didn't meet a reasonable standard of care, as they say. Okay, last leg of the table, got to be the tie-in to me actually getting hurt, right?
Causation. You prove their failure is what caused your injuries, connecting the dots between their screw-up and you face-planting.
So if I was texting, not paying attention, that hurts my case, even if there was a dangerous situation.
Right. Got to show it was their fault, not just you being clumsy. If they'd done things right, you wouldn't be hurt.
Okay, way more complicated than I thought, this whole negligence thing. It's not just falling. It's building a legal argument with all these pieces. But let's say I do eat it in the produce aisle. Right after, what should I do? My instinct is to just lie there for a minute. But what's the smart move, legally speaking?
Taking a moment's understandable. But the source material's big on immediate documentation. You're a detective now, gathering evidence.
Okay, so what kind of evidence? What am I grabbing?
Phone's your best friend. Pictures. And not just of the puddle, but things that tell a story. Footprints. Liquid spread out like it's been there a while. That visual stuff's gold.
Ooh, clever. Not just that it existed, but implying it was there long enough for them to notice and do something. But what about wet floor signs? Doesn't that protect them?
Some protection, but not a free pass. Sign placed after you fell. Hidden behind a display. Still negligent. That's where security footage is huge.
That's got to be the smoking gun sometimes. How do you even get that footage?
This is where a lawyer's key. They'll get the store to save it before it gets erased. Evidence can disappear fast.
Good point. So photos, footage request. What else do we do right there on the scene?
Report it to a manager. Make them file a report. Official record. Very helpful later on.
So far, photos, footage, report. Anything else?
Even if you think you're fine, get checked out medically. Creates a link between your injuries and the fall. And witnesses, get their info. Unbiased accounts are valuable.
Wow, there's a whole playbook to this, more than I ever knew.
Yeah.
But even with all that, is winning a case easy? Seems like there'd still be challenges, legal roadblocks.
Oh, yeah, it's rarely a slam dunk. Lots of legal nuances, defense strategies, and that's what we'll get into after a quick.
Hold on. No breaks here on the deep dive. We keep this train rolling. What are some of those hurdles, even when you think you've got a good case?
Biggest one is proving the owner acted unreasonably. Remember, negligence is about not meeting a reasonable standard of care. So even if they did something, was it enough, given the situation?
So the wet floor sign hidden behind the display, That's unreasonable, even though it was there.
Exactly. They might say, hey, we did something, but you show it was useless, not enough. That's where the photo showing that puddle's been there all day, or footage proving they don't inspect regularly. That's what wins cases.
It's like storytelling, not just facts. You're showing how they messed up, leading to your injuries. But let's be real, this is lawsuits, lawyers, maybe even court. Intimidating, especially if you're already hurt. What's the first thing someone should do after a fall?
First call, personal injury lawyer. And not just because it's good for me, but the sooner they're involved, the better you're protected.
How so? What can they do that I can't do myself?
Good one knows what evidence to get, how to keep it safe, how to work the system. They handle insurance, other lawyers, all that stressful stuff.
So not just fighting for you in court, it's having someone who gets it all. Your guide, your translator, your shield, reassuring. But gotta ask, what's the payoff? Slip and fall lawsuit? Are we talking yacht money? Or just covering medical bills?
$1 million question, literally. No easy answer, though. Every case is different. How bad you're hurt, the evidence, your lawyer, even the specific laws. It all matters.
So no guarantees, but a good lawyer can at least tell you if you're dreaming too big.
Yeah, they'll look at your case, compare it to others, give you a range. But even the best can't predict perfectly. There's always surprises.
That's the law for you. But even without knowing the exact amount, it's good to know you have options. The law is there, but you got to know how to use it.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the better you handle these situations if they come up.
So for our listener today, big takeaway. One thing to remember, if they find themselves flat on their back.
Don't freak out. Document everything. Lawyer up ASAP. Those 3 things can change everything.
Solid advice. And hopefully, just listening to this, you're more aware of dangers, more likely to be careful. But knowledge is power. Sometimes it's what keeps a minor mishap from turning into a major legal headache.
Absolutely. And what really hit me prepping for this is how preventable most of these falls are. A little care, attention to detail. Owners could stop a lot of them.
So it's not just about reacting after. It's creating a safe environment in the first place. Taking responsibility for people on your property. And that goes beyond a caution sign, right? It's like a whole attitude of safety. Hazards get fixed fast. Everyone speaks up if something's risky.
That's it, exactly. We're all in this together. Working together makes a world with fewer falls, fewer accidents in general.
Well said.
Yeah.
And on that note, we've covered a lot in this first part. Legal stuff, practical tips, shared responsibility. But there's more to uncover. So stay tuned for the next installment of our deep dive where we'll...
Whoa, hold up. Remember, no breaks in the deep dive. We just keep this conversation flowing.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting. No breaks, just straight up info. So let's switch gears. We talked a lot about what owners got to do, but what about us, the visitors? Don't we have a responsibility to be careful too?
Absolutely. Preventing accidents is on everyone. Paying attention, watching for dangers, wearing the right shoes, basic stuff, but it makes a difference.
Ounce of prevention, right. And not just for falls, but for everything.
Yeah.
Store, street, even at home. Aware of your surroundings, common sense, keeps you out of trouble.
Exactly. Safety is a two-way street. Know your rights, hold people accountable, yes, but be smart. Protect yourself too.
Makes sense. Can't just rely on others. Got to take care of ourselves too. But what about the argument that by saying that, we're letting negligent owners off the hook?
Valid point. Got to strike a balance. Not saying victims are to blame, but gotta admit, sometimes accidents just happen. Owners do everything right, and still, bad luck, freak event.
So not about blame, more like safety has many sides, everyone's involved.
Exactly. Everyone does their part, makes things safer overall.
Okay, so we've done the legal stuff, the tips to stay safe, the shared responsibility idea. But before we wrap up this first part, there's something bugging me.
Okay, hit me with it.
You said most falls are preventable. Right. So now I'm walking around. Am I supposed to be like on high alert for every little thing? Don't be paranoid, but I also want to stay upright. Where's the line?
Good question. Not paranoia, but awareness. Notice uneven pavement, slippery spots, stuff in the way. And it's not just you, it's maybe warning someone else who isn't paying attention.
So just be observant, notice things, speak up if something's dangerous.
Right. Be proactive, not just reacting after someone's already gotten hurt.
Great takeaway. But I bet our listeners wondering how all this plays out in the real world. What are some common slip and fall situations? Let's get into those juicy details in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah, let's get real. Grocery stores, top of the list. Spills in the produce aisle, those puddles by the frozen food. Classic.
We've all seen them. What is it about grocery stores? Just so many people bound to be accidents, or is there more to it?
Lots of people, yeah, that's part of it. But those shiny floors get them wet. It's a skating rink. Plus, they're always moving stuff around, stocking shelves.
Yeah.
More chances for something to be in the wrong place.
Recipe for disaster, basically.
Yeah.
So if I do slip, we talked about the photos, the lawyer. What am I looking for specifically in a grocery store? What helps my case?
Good question. Floor is a big one. Was it just mopped? Was there a sign? Any spills they missed? Stuff like that.
Those little things really matter.
Big time. Prove the floor was wet for a long time. They didn't clean up right. That shows they weren't being careful.
Like those footprints we talked about.
Right.
Not just marks, they tell a story, right? How long the danger was there? Did the store ignore it? But what if they say, oh, we mopped it up, like 2 minutes before she fell?
That's when your pictures, that security footage, that's your proof. Photos show a big puddle, or the camera shows nobody cleaned anything. Their story falls apart.
Gotcha. It all adds up. But those wet floor signs, do those actually mean much in court? Can they just put a sign up and it's like, not our fault?
Not that easy. Was it where you could see it? Did they even do anything else, like actually mop or block the area off?
So a sign's not a magic shield, just part of the whole picture. Okay, but let's say it's not a store. What other places are slip and fall hotspots?
Sidewalks, parking lots, uneven pavement, potholes, ice, snow, all dangerous.
And those are tricky because it's not always clear who's responsible, right? City, the store owner, someone else.
Exactly. Figuring out who you sue is the first hurdle. Could be the city, the owner, some contractor. Mess.
Lawyers got to do their homework.
Okay.
Okay, example. I trip on a cracked sidewalk outside a store. What am I looking for there?
Yeah.
Evidence-wise.
Crack itself, for starters. Pictures. How big? How deep? Where was it exactly? Was it obvious? Any signs warning you?
So same idea as the store, visuals matter. But if the crack was tiny, hard to see. Yeah. Does that mean I've got no case?
Not necessarily. You can argue they should have seen it, should have fixed it, especially if lots of people walk there.
So not just how bad it is, but like, was it a risk they should have anticipated?
Okay. That constructive knowledge thing again. If that crack's been there forever, people have complained before.
Right.
That helps your case.
Details, they all matter. Okay, switching gears again. Restaurants, spilled drinks, greasy floors, dark lighting. Sounds like trouble.
Oh yeah, restaurants are tricky. Dark, crowded, waiters rushing around, accidents waiting to happen.
So it's not just spills, it's the whole vibe of the place, right? Did they make it safe for people to move around?
Exactly. If they've had spills before, people complaining the floor's slippery, but they haven't done anything like those grippy mats, better lighting, that's on them.
So being proactive?
Yeah.
Not just cleaning up after the fact.
Yeah.
Making it safe to begin with.
Exactly. And that's for any property, really. Store, sidewalk, restaurant, your own house even.
Good point. We think of these things happening out in public, but it's anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Same rules apply.
Yep. And that brings up something we haven't really touched on. This whole premises liability idea when it's not a business.
Perfect timing. We've been talking stores, restaurants, public stuff. But what about if I fall at someone's house? Is it the same legal deal?
Things get a little fuzzier then. Same basic idea, but the rules change depending who you are, why you're there.
So it's not just homeowners always liable if you get hurt.
Nope. Law says there's different kinds of visitors. Invitees, licensees, trespassers.
Okay, I can tell this is going to be good. Break it down for us.
Invitee, you're there for business, like shopping, or you're a client at an office. Owners got to be super careful, make sure it's safe, warn you about anything dangerous.
So the rug in the store that trips me up, I have an invitee. They got to protect me, right?
You got it. Now, licensee. You're there for your own reason, like visiting a friend or borrowing something.
So if I have you over for dinner, that's licensee. But what do I have to do to keep you safe?
You got to warn about dangers you know of, but not like guarantee everything's perfect, loose paver in the yard you didn't know about, that's fine. But if you knew the porch steps were broken and didn't tell me, that's trouble.
So being honest about what you know is risky.
Yeah.
Not making it like a safety theme park.
Yeah, right. Then there's trespassers, people who aren't supposed to be there at all. Owner doesn't have to do much for them.
So someone sneaks in, gets hurt, not my problem.
Most of the time, no. Unless you set a trap or something, which is obviously bad news. You're not making your place safe for people who shouldn't be there.
Makes sense. But what about, like, a pool? Do you got to protect trespassers, especially kids, even if it's their fault for sneaking in?
Good one. That's where attractive nuisances come in. Pools, trampolines, construction sites. Kids are drawn to them. Owners got to be extra careful to keep them out, even if they're not supposed to be there.
So even if some kid jumps my fence to swim, I could be liable if I didn't lock the gate or something.
Yep. The law says kids don't always get the dangers, so owners got to protect them.
Interesting. So even though trespassers don't have a lot of rights, kids and these tempting dangers, that's different.
Exactly. Balancing it, right. Owners' rights, but also protecting people who might get hurt, especially if it could have been prevented.
This is getting really deep. Premises liability. More complicated than I thought.
Oh, yeah. And this is why you need a lawyer if you fall, no matter where it is. They know the rules, figure out who to go after, what to do.
Makes sense. But before we get into all the legal moves and stuff, I'm curious.
Yeah.
We talk about the injuries, the law. But what about the emotional side? Falling can be scary, right? What about the mental impact, not just the physical?
You never forget about that. Slip and fall, it's not just bumps and bruises. It can mess with your head. The stress, anxiety, even PTSD sometimes.
So it's not just about fixing the body. It's about the mental recovery, too.
100%. Therapy, support groups, talking to people, that helps as much as any doctor.
Easy to focus on the physical, but the mind matters, too. And I bet that stuff's even harder if you're also dealing with a lawsuit, lawyers, all that.
Oh, yeah. The legal stuff, it drags on. It's stressful. Brings back all the bad memories. You got to have people to lean on to carry yourself.
Really important point. These cases, it's not just about winning or losing. It's people's lives being disrupted. Their health, their ability to work, everything.
Right. That's what drives me doing this kind of law. It's not just about money. It's about people getting hurt because someone wasn't careful and helping them get back on their feet.
Powerful stuff. And I think that's the perfect way to lead into the next part, where we get into the nitty-gritty of these lawsuits, the strategies, the tactics, how it all works. Stay tuned as we break down the legal system, how to fight back, how to get what you deserve. Back for the final round, folks. We've tackled negligence, the evidence game, all that premises liability stuff. Now, let's get into the legal nitty-gritty. You've said before how important a good lawyer is, but what do they actually do to win these slip and fall cases?
Investigation, that's first. Got to get all the pieces. Police reports, medical records, witnesses, pictures, videos, anything that tells the story.
Like a detective, right?
Yeah.
Piecing together what happened. But I bet getting that stuff isn't easy, especially if the other side's trying to hide things.
You got it. That's where experience matters. A good lawyer knows how to use the system to get what they need. Subpoenas, depositions, all those legal tools. Make them hand over the truth.
So it's not just having the evidence, it's knowing how to use it. Okay, let's say we've got it all. What are the tricks of the trade, legally speaking, to win these cases?
Proving the owner knew about the danger, that's big. Remember, actual knowledge, constructive knowledge.
Oh, yeah, that was a key point.
Yeah.
Not just that the danger was there, but that they knew about it, or should have, and didn't care.
Right. So if we can prove they actually knew, like someone told them or they have a report, that's great.
And if they didn't actually know, how do you go about proving that constructive stuff?
Got to get creative. Look for other times it happened, maintenance logs, even weather reports, anything to show they should have known there was a risk and done something.
Like a pattern, right?
Yeah.
Not just bad luck, but them being careless. But what if they say, hey, we did put up a sign, we were careful?
Then we look closer. Was the sign easy to see? Was it even in the right place? Did they do anything else, like clean up or block it off?
So it's got to be more than just going through the motions.
Yeah.
Actually taking it seriously. Okay, but let's talk money. We know about negligence, but what do people actually get from a slip and fall case?
Depends, of course. How bad you're hurt, the details. But usually it's medical bills, lost wages if you couldn't work, pain and suffering, that kind of thing. Sometimes even punitive damages.
Punitive, that's a new one. What's that, and when do they get awarded?
That's to punish them, basically. If they were really reckless, like they knew it was dangerous and didn't care, then you hit them where it hurts, their wallet.
So it's not just about making the victim whole. It's about saying, this was bad, don't do it again. But let's say you've got a slam dunk case, evidence is solid. How do you actually go about getting that money? What are the options?
Usually start with the insurance company, file a claim, show them what you've got, demand payment.
And if they say no or lowball you, what then?
Then it's lawsuit time. Take them to court, present your case to a judge, maybe a jury.
Legal battle royale. But court, that takes forever, right? Expensive too. Any other way to settle these things?
There's mediation, arbitration, ways to work it out without the whole court mess.
Tell me more about those. How do they work? What's the advantage?
Mediation's like a neutral person tries to get both sides to agree. Less formal, less fighting.
So more like a compromise. Everyone walks away kind of happy. What about arbitration?
That's more like a mini trial, but private. Arbitrator hears everything, makes a decision. Faster, cheaper, but their word is final.
So you're trading the right to go to court for a quicker answer. Interesting. Well, we've covered a ton. Negligence, evidence, the legal options. If someone's listening, just had a fall, what's the one thing they should remember?
See a doctor. Even if it seems small, get checked out. Take pictures, write down names, file that report. And most important, get a lawyer. Fast. They'll handle it. Fight for you.
Best advice you can get. And like we keep saying, the more you know, the better off you are. So keep learning, stay informed, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. But before we wrap up this whole deep dive, something's been on my mind.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've been all about the law, the strategies, the winning and losing. But it's easy to forget. These cases, they're about people. Getting hurt, sometimes really badly. It's pain, it's not being able to work, it's stress on families.
You're right. We get focused on the legal game, but there's real life consequences for everyone involved.
Exactly. So, as you're out there walking around, be aware, sure, but also be kind. You never know what someone's going through. And let's all try to make the world a little safer so these things happen less. Well, folks, that brings our deep dive to an end. Slip and fall law in California, it's more than you thought, right? Thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully you learned something and you'll be a little more prepared if you ever find yourself in this situation. Stay safe out there.
Call now 714-442-9741. Thank you.